Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who conquered Europe, rewrote history, and reshaped nations. But what if I told you that all his brilliance was brought down by a series of mistakes so catastrophic they changed the world forever? Today, we'll unravel the decisions that led to his downfall and uncover lessons in strategy that generals still study today. Let's start with perhaps the most overlooked factor in Napoleon's downfall: logistics. Armies do not march on courage alone. They march on supplies, on food, on fuel for their cannons. In 1812, Napoleon invaded Russia with over 600,000 men. But here's the critical error. He assumed he could live off the land. No food depots, no sustainable supply lines, just hope. And hope, in war, is a dangerous currency. When the Russian winter came, starvation and disease devastated the Grande Armée. Hundreds of thousands died, not by the enemy's sword, but by poor planning. Was this just bad planning? Or was it Napoleon's ego, a man who saw himself as invincible, who had rewritten European borders? Perhaps he believed the laws of nature and logistics did not apply to him. Consider this. He ignored advice, dismissed generals who warned him, and pressed on despite the glaring signs. Could it be that his downfall was written in his pride? Napoleon was everywhere at once. Spain, Austria, Prussia, Italy. He was the master of Europe. But mastery comes at a cost. His empire became a network of overextended supply lines, hostile territories, and enemies who refused to stay defeated. Every victory required more troops, more money, more control. And every step forward created 2 steps back. In essence, Napoleon conquered Europe too fast, and lost it just as fast: Spain, the peninsula. What should have been a quick occupation turned into a nightmare. Guerrilla warfare, ambushes, sabotage, small bands of fighters, frustrating the greatest army Europe had ever seen. Napoleon underestimated the will of the people to resist. He relied on conventional warfare against unconventional tactics. And here's the irony. The same brilliance that crushed armies in pitched battles faltered against a scattered, determined resistance. But Napoleon's errors were not only on the battlefield. Diplomacy, or rather mismanagement of it, played a huge role. Alliances shifted like sand. Countries once subservient now plotted against him. Britain, Russia, Austria, Prussia. One by one, Europe's powers adapted, learned, and exploited his weaknesses. Every conquest needed careful handling, and Napoleon's arrogance often burned bridges faster than he could build them. And then came Russia, the campaign historians call the turning point. Over 600,000 men entered. Fewer than 100,000 returned. Moscow burned, and Napoleon waited. He waited for the Russians to surrender in a city without supplies. But they never did. By the time the retreat began, winter had become a weapon. Starvation, frostbite, and constant attacks decimated his army. Strategy failed, and the myth of Napoleon's invincibility shattered. But what if he had made different choices? What if he had listened to his generals, prepared supply lines, or avoided the Russian winter? Could Europe have been a French empire for another century? Or was Napoleon's ambition destined to outgrow his means? History hinges on such fragile moments, on decisions that seem small at the time, yet echo across generations. For military strategists, Napoleon's campaigns are more than stories. They are case studies. Logistics, overextension, intelligence, and diplomacy, all crucial. One mistake can undo decades of genius. Napoleon teaches us, brilliance is not enough. Victory is fragile, and hubris is perhaps the deadliest weapon of all. By 1815, Napoleon was gone, exiled to St. Helena, Europe, scarred, reshaped, and cautious of future conquerors. And yet, his legacy endured. Wars are studied, leaders are inspired, and the mistakes he made serve as warnings for generations to come. So, was Napoleon a genius undone by circumstance, or a man undone by his own ambition? Perhaps history does not simply judge success or failure. It asks us to question, to analyze, and to wonder, what would you have done in his shoes? If you want to explore more of history's greatest blunders and the strategies behind them, subscribe now and join the journey through the minds of history's most fascinating leaders.